so that everyone will be happy.
Mr. Cook,
Up to the chairman.
Yeah, quite later.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Basically, I think as far from the firefighter side, I can only speak from the firefighter side. We're down to the point where it isn't so much the issues, the particulars of negotiations, but it seems to be the process. And the selectmen seem to be removed from the town side of the negotiations, and it seems to be short-circuited. And I would ask that you work to correct that. That seems to be the nemesis right now, whether it's communications or whatever. A good example, our last mediation session with the town was April 7th, and we haven't had definitive word from the selectmen on what was wrong with the package discussed and agreed upon at that time. I mean, that's 8-9 weeks. There's obviously a problem. Either we need direct discourse with the selectmen or a liaison, something. It has to be something factual. And from our vantage point, it isn't so much the issues, it is we can't even get the process to discuss the issues with the individuals that are making the final decision. Thank you.
Mr. Willerman.
My name's Officer Willerman, Roger Willerman. I've been a police officer in the town of North Reading 27 years. I'm a shop steward for the police department. We have 27 members in our police department. As you can see here tonight, there's at least 19 of those members present. We're being represented by Local 25, and I just got one question for you, Mr. Muldoon. How and when is this going to be settled? This has been going on a long time. Nobody seems to have any answers. We're not going anywhere. We're back where we were 22 months ago, and we just want to know how and when it's going to take place.
Well, we're new at, we're certainly a new board here, so I think you have to give us a little opportunity to try and deal with this. I mean, we can't resolve things in 30 days that have occurred over the last 2 years. So I don't want to get into a situation where I'm negotiating with you. It was not my point to open up a can of worms. I just wanted to tell you that, you know, we appreciate what you're. I don't want you to get. I don't want you the morale to go down. I don't want the morale to go down because negotiations are at a stalemate. I want you still to know that we appreciate the work you do. The town appreciates it. The board appreciates it.
Well, let both organizations know that all members of the board have been fully apprised as far as the contract, where negotiations stand, where we're at.
I think one of the things we're looking at.
Brought up to speed, and hopefully the process is going to be moving forward.
Our police union has not asked for anything other than what other town employees are currently enjoying, and we haven't even been offered that.
Again, without getting into the specifics of the whatever the proposals are, I don't think this is the proper venue or forum, and we're certainly not going to engage in any type of discussion at this particular point, in this particular forum.
Understandable.
So,
Thank you.
we appreciate your interest in coming. And you added a little heat to the room, you know, body heat. But, no, we appreciate you coming out and showing support to yourselves and showing some support as far as showing some strength, I guess, in numbers as far as the board is concerned. But we'll do what we have to do on this side of the table, and as Mr. Muldoon and other members of the board pointed out, you know, it's not as though you know, the work of our town employees go unappreciated or unnoticed. And, we'll do the best we can in order to ensure that you get just pay for what you do, and the taxpayers get the services that they deserve for what they're paying for. It seems to me they could be in agreement. Right? Mr. Rowe.
Mr. Chairman, before the fire department leaves, I wanted to thank the members who came to Fireman's Memorial last Sunday. We had it was a great showing to have 3 of the selectmen there, and we appreciate your support at that Fireman's Memorial.
Yeah, I understand it was a great service.
Great event.
So, Mr. Muldoon, anything else?
Nothing.
That was pretty good.
One more, this is new business?
Pardon me?
New business?
No, we don't do it. We're doing all the new business for board members. But what would you like, Mr. Weiss?
I would like to, please, is perfect. First person in this town to pronounce it right the first time. My question is, how do I go about selecting to change the bylaws of North Reading to once the voters have voted on a ballot, that it doesn't come back up for another 24 months. Like if I go to appeal a building permit and I lose at the appeal board, I can't appeal it for 24 months. If I vote on something, we want a new police station, and it votes no. If the people voted no, and it comes back up in a special election 6 months later, is that fair to the taxpayers?
That's a political question that the political body has to determine. That's actually governed by state law, and then there's also when it comes to town meeting appropriations, if there's a negative vote at town meeting, in order for it to come up again, it has to have the favorable consideration of the finance committee in order to have it within 1 year. But as far as a ballot question, it's 2/3 of the board of selectmen, which actually equals 4/5, and that's state statute. So the bylaw wouldn't change, it.
Okay.
State statute supersedes that.
I'm learning something.
Okay, so,
Thank you.
and the only other recourse is, throw the bums out. You know, which has happened before, it'll happen again, Right? Thanks for the question. Okay. Mr. Murphy.
Two items, Mr. Chairman. One, I just use this form. My email account is down. I haven't had access for almost 3 weeks. So if anybody has sent me an email, and I know there was at least one that I did not respond back to, I'm not ignoring you. The account is down, and doing everything I can to get it up or get it forwarded. The second item relates to a matter that went before the ZBA. When I wasn't doing J.T. Berry, I was reading zoning bylaw and case law and some of the prior cases. I think the bottom line is that we had a situation occur. No one was pleased with the situation. No one is really pleased with the outcome of the situation. I think in some ways the process didn't work. I think that I'm somewhat encouraged that the ZBA is adopting the policy, the bylaw that was adopted by town meeting. It's still under review by the Attorney General. The ZBA has agreed to adopt that so that they would kick anything to the CPC first. I think that we still have a lot more discussion to do. I don't think, certainly the CPC feels that what happened on a particular permit was wrong, and that the process broke down, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't want to get into the specifics of it, because then I'm just rehashing the history. But what I am encouraged by is the cooperation that we have from the ZBA and the CPC. And as we all know, there have been issues over the years, and which culminated in the bylaw being presented to town meeting. The CPC had originally asked for time with us on our agenda to discuss this issue. I asked them if they would not do that. I see some of them are here, so some of them may want to speak on it. I would ask the chair to consider allowing them that opportunity. But I think CPC is an elected board, they have a job to do. ZBA is an appointed board, appointed by this board, they have a job to do, and then there are others involved in the process that all have a job to do. It's supposed to be a democratic process, it's supposed to be reasonably fair, and people are supposed to feel good at the end of it. That doesn't always happen with anything anyway. But I think that, to put it on the record, the CPC strongly objects to the decision related to 66 Oakdale. They want to go on the record with that, and they should, and they believe that it should not have been issued. But to their credit, we're working, I hope, towards resolving this issue. And what it really comes down to is grandfathered lots and unaccepted streets and some of these other issues that are going to come up over time. So I think the actions by the Board of Appeals to implement this, which you all got a copy of that memo, to implement bylaw as approved by town meeting and to the intent of town meeting. We'll hopefully address things on an interim basis, but we still have work to do. We need to keep the communication going, and we need to get the issues addressed so that these types of situations hopefully don't culminate into this much pushing and pulling and tugging. And again, I don't want to go into specific details. But, again, the CPC believes that, and perhaps rightfully so, but I'm not an attorney, but so they strongly object to the issues in that project. Mr. Rowe.
I didn't see this on the agenda, I got this letter tonight. But what I would like to do before this thing is discussed, that we in fact give the zoning board of appeals a chance to reply to this particular letter, because I'd like to see what they have to say about it myself, but I'd like to see that done before we do discuss it.
Mr. Chairman, and certainly we can discuss anything. I'm not sure we need to discuss it. Based on a process that, forget whether it should have occurred that way or not. Something ended up on somebody's table and they addressed the issue the best way they knew how. We spent a lot of time and money on this one issue. Spent a lot of money with town council on this issue. I think that is it the right or the ultimate solution? No, but I think that what we do have is some communication going back and forth and a realization on the part of everyone that we need to put in place and make sure a process works, so that we don't get into this kind of situation again. So I guess my point is I don't want to rehash history. I want to move the community. I want to move the issues like this forward, as opposed to just debating the past.
And again, the Community Planning Commission opted not to meet with us this evening. We find, and again, that was based in no small part on the efforts of Mr. Murphy. And poor Buggy, he's looking down the liaison assignment list. He says, I think I'd like the CPC and maybe the Board of Appeals. And I said, you're more than welcome to them, and let's get yourself in the middle of it and see if we can get things, lines of communication open up. And I think he's done a great job in the last few weeks, the last 2 weeks or so, to facilitate that process. And the reason you didn't see it on the agenda was that based upon the request that we got, verbal request that we got from the Planning Commission, it was probably going to be held. It was going to be held in executive session. That's all.
Right, and my only question is, though, that we do have a letter in front of us here with some facts and figures and stuff, and my only question would be that I would like to, I have this in front of me. If I take this at its worth, just the way it is right now, I only see one side. I just saying, I just like to have them.
And this issue goes back a long way.
Right, I understand that.
And there were certain things that happened in this process that perhaps shouldn't have, but did. And people dealt with what was on. People dealt with the issue at hand. People did their job. And this objection, and I don't disagree with their objection. I don't. And if I were them, I would disagree as well. But you can't rewrite history either. So it's one of those issues, I think, that we have to look at as a learning process and move on from, but stop this on a go-forward basis. Because if this, it's been an issue in the past, and I don't want to see it as an issue in the future. And that's why I don't want to just, and again, but if we got something from ZBA, Dana, it would be counter to that, and it would be the opposite, and it would be a different opinion. If we got something from town council, it would be the opposite of that. I've read so much on this. I know so much about zoning bylaws that I never knew about grandfathered lots and conforming versus non-conforming and all kinds of things.